She had a flight booked. Her daughters were waiting for her. Everything was normal. And then she disappeared. Her name was Eva Lasrini, 53 years old, a mother. And on that day, she was supposed to leave Australia and fly to Indonesia to see her daughters. That was the plan. A simple trip, a normal day. The kind of day that should end with a message, I landed safely. But that message never came because Eva never got on that plane. At first, it didn't make sense. Maybe she missed the flight. Maybe something delayed her. But then something else happened. She stopped responding. No calls, no messages, nothing. And that's when people start to worry because this wasn't like her. So she was reported missing. And from that moment, everything started moving fast. Too fast. Police began looking into her last known movements, and one detail immediately stood out. Eva was not supposed to go to the airport alone. According to reports, her estranged husband, Allan Keys, was expected to drive her there. That was the last known plan, the last step before she vanished. Now, think about that. The last person connected to her movement is the same person police would soon arrest. Because while Eva was missing, Allan Keys was at Melbourne Airport, not waiting, not searching, but preparing to leave the country. And that's when police stepped in, right there at the airport, before he could board the flight. He was arrested and later charged with murder. At that point, the case changed completely because now this was no longer a missing person case. It was something much darker. Then come the discovery. A body was found near Little River, outside the city, away from the airport, away from the plan. And according to reports, that body was Eva. So now, we have a story, but something about it still doesn't feel complete. Let's go back. Eva had a plan. She was going to the airport. She was going to see her daughters. So what happened between those two moments, between leaving and never arriving? Because that is where everything changed. That is where the story breaks. We don't see what happened in that gap. We don't see the final minutes. We don't see the exact timeline. But we know something interrupted her journey. Something stopped her before she ever reached that plane. And then there is another detail. Reports mention unusual online activity. Posts that made it look like Allan Key was already overseas. But he wasn't. He was still in Australia, still at the airport. So why create that image? Why make it seem like you are somewhere else? And now the timeline becomes even more confusing because everything happens so quickly. She misses the flight. She disappears. A body is found. An arrest is made at the airport. All in a very short time. It almost feels like we are only seeing the end of the story, not the beginning. So let's break this down. Not like a news report, but like a real investigation. Eva Lasrini leaves home. She's supposed to go to the airport. She never gets there. She never boards the flight. She stops communicating. She's reported missing. At the same time, her estranged husband is at the airport, getting ready to leave. Police arrive, they arrest him. Then a body is found, and everything connects. But here is the truth. We still don't know exactly what happened in those final moments. We don't know where the plan changed, what happened during the journey, why the location was chosen, what triggered police to act so quickly. And that's what makes this case powerful because it looks simple, but it isn't. Right now, police say this is murder, and they have charged Allan Keys. That is the official position. But the story we see is still missing pieces because the most important part of this case is not the arrest, not the body, not even the charge. It's the moment we don't see. That moment between I'm going to the airport and she never arrives. That is where the truth is. So now I want you to think about it. If someone disappears before a flight, and the person who was supposed to take them there is later arrested at the airport trying to leave, what does that tell you? Did everything happen suddenly, or was something already wrong before that day? And most importantly, what happened in those final moments before Eva Lasrini vanished? Because until we understand that, we don't understand this case. So tell me, what do you think happened? Thank you.
53-year-old Eva Lasrini was reported missing last Thursday, and her body was discovered dumped near the Princess Freeway at Little River, which is about 44 kilometres southwest of Melbourne CBD on Saturday. It was actually her two adult daughters who first raised the alarm after Ms Lasrini failed to arrive in Indonesia on an international flight. And Ms Lasrini's friend has posted on an online fundraiser saying that she was a beautiful woman and that her death has left her two daughters grieving an unimaginable loss. So to that end, the Indonesian Consulate General is now working hard to be able to get those two adult women over to Australia to be able to farewell their mother properly. And a spokesman says that the Consulate General of Indonesia is working with the Department of Home Affairs to expedite those visas as quickly as possible. Now, this all comes as a 67-year-old man was arrested as he tried to himself board an international flight. He's since been charged with the murder of Ms Lasrini and will appear in court again in August.